What's good, YouTube? Crown Jewel from Crown Jewel Boxing, back with a gym. As you can see, I'm in the gym. Got a few minutes before I get started, so I wanted to touch on, it's been a while, a lot going on. I want to touch on Jaron Boots Ennis and Brian Norman, as Brian Norman has emerged as WBO belt holder after Terrence Crawford vacated, and Brian Norman Sr., his father, is yet another dad that's out here making a whole lot of noise and writing checks that his son got to cash, in my opinion. But as far as the topic of conversation now, he's talking about a lot of, sparring with Boots and what happened when they sparred and the possibility of a unification bout between the two of them. And he's basically standing on now saying that his son is on the same level as Boots. Boots ain't done nothing his son ain't done. And because they both, were elevated to champ instead of fighting for champ. They both have one title in the same division. They're both undefeated, so he feels they're the same. Unfortunately, they're not. And I'm not saying this just because I'm a fan of Jaron's Boots Ennis. I'm a fan of Brian Norman Jr. too, but let's just look at reality. Prior to the last 30 days, the only time I've ever heard Brian Norman Jr.'s name was when him and his father were talking about what they supposedly had done to Tank and sparring. That in itself was a red flag to me, because why is a welterweight running around bragging about what he supposedly did to a 130, 135 pounder in sparring? You get no credence for that. So Tank's team said it was cap, even if it wasn't. I don't care about sparring a whole lot anyway, but I damn sure don't want to hear about what you supposedly did to a guy that's a couple weight divisions smaller than you in sparring. With that being said, there's a huge difference, again, between himself and Boots. I've never heard Brian Norman Jr. mentioned as a potential opponent for Terrence Crawford or Earl Spence. He hasn't had the buzz around his name for the past few years that Jaron Boots Ennis has. And some people say, I heard last night on KO's channel, that that's because he didn't have the same opportunities. He actually did have the same opportunities. Unfortunately, professional sports isn't fair. Deals are not fair. Just like in any other sport, it's based on talent and marketability. And at this current time, Jaron Boots Ennis has passed the eye test, has shown in my opinion, a much higher level of talent, and he's more marketable. I think, from what I was understanding of, the reports I've seen in the interviews of Eddie Hearn, they got all the way up to above $1.5 million in offers for Brian Norman Jr., and it's been said that his highest purse that he's received to date was in his last fight was somewhere in between $150,000 and $190,000. So he turned down 8 to 10 times more than he's ever made, and his father called it a lowball offer. I don't know where he's getting his numbers from. And like I said, you guys can go to accomplishments, but the reality is Boots generates a lot more money, and like I said, the unfortunate reality for Brian Norman Jr., that if Boots does not fight him, he'll still be fighting in front of 15,000 plus in the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. If Brian Norman doesn't fight against Boots, he's going to be in a free TV show in a ballroom somewhere. That's just the reality. You can't take Brian Norman Jr. to Atlanta and fight him in the Hawks Arena right now. He's never even headlined a card. So the fact that they're trying to barter their one belt and leverage it to say that they deserve a bigger piece of the pie against Boots is preposterous. His father in particular came out and said that they offered him less than half of what Boots got his last fight. Don't worry about what Boots got his last fight. That's all the more reason why you should not get what he get, because again, Boots was reportedly got about $3.3 million in his last fight, and your son has never even made the 0.3, let alone $1 million. So just worry about your son being offered 8 to 10 times more than he's ever made, not saying he's getting half of what Boots got his last fight, because again, he's not Boots. He doesn't have Boots marketability, doesn't have Boots track record, doesn't have Boots the respect that Boots has earned throughout the game, doesn't have the buzz around him. And unfortunately, the same thing for, Gervonta Tank Davis with regards to some of the other lightweights. He just has the it factor, and Boots has that it factor, and that it factor translates into dollars. For Boots, unfortunately, the lack of thereof does not translate into dollars for Brian Norman Jr. But I want to go out and say, with the information that's out there right now, Brian Norman Jr. was pump faking. He doesn't want it with Boots. He's ducking the fight. And just from my trained eye, I see nothing in Brian Norman that would make me think he's a threat to Jaron Boots Ennis. Everything he does, to me, Boots does better, more efficiently, quicker, and he's even the bigger fighter. So I don't care what they said happened in sparring. I've heard, from Brian Norman's dad himself say that Boots destroyed him the first time. And all the other times he said Boots just didn't step to him like that. He never said Brian Norman got the best of him. He just said Boots didn't try him like that no more, and he showed him more respect. I haven't heard anything of him saying he did anything to Boots. Not that that mattered, because, again, I don't care about sparring, but they hang their hat on sparring a whole lot. And the reality is, if he wants to fight Boots, I think that a $1.5 million offer was more than generous based on his past earnings and his potential earnings if he does not fight Boots. So if he doesn't take it, he ducked. And it is what it is. Jaron Boots Ennis is still one of the most duck fighters in the world. And the facts say that, not me. That's all I have for y'all right now. Until next time, keep your hands up, your chin down, your ass off the floor. Peace.